So you're ready to replace your control arms on your truck or SUV, and that is great. But do you have everything you need to do the job? There are multiple reasons why you would want to replace your control arm. Maybe it's rusted out and you just need a new one. Or maybe you have a ball joint that isn't serviceable and it comes with a new control arm. Or maybe you have bushings that need to be replaced and, well, you just want to put a new assembly in it because it's honestly a whole lot easier. Maybe you went for an alignment and you were told it can't be aligned because the cam bolts on that control arm are seized. And to do those, well, you take the control arm out, so you might as well put a new one in. Or maybe it's a combination of those reasons. Regardless, not all control arm jobs are easy. Whatever control arms you need, get them at oneauto.com and think about getting them as a kit. It's important to do both sides at the same time, especially if they're old, because you want the vehicle to ride evenly left and right. You don't want nice new bushings and well, in this case, a new ball joint on one side and old torn bushings on the other. That could affect stability and ride quality, really. But also think about the alignment aspect. When you do a suspension repair, you want an alignment at the end, but you don't want to have to pay twice for it. So just do them both at the same time. Get a kit from oneauto.com and get the job done right from the start. Typically, the easier to replace control arms are going to be the ones that are not adjustable. So when you don't have an adjustable bolt, what happens, whether it's a car, truck, SUV, whatever it is, the control arm will be squished tight between the frame or the bracket, whatever it's holding onto with that bolt. And because it only has one position to be in, there's no openings for water, sand, salt, any other debris to get in there and rust it all out. So minimal to no corrosion occurs even after 10, 20 years, as long as it's tight and sealed up. The tricky ones, and the ones that are usually a hassle to deal with, are the adjustable ones. So whether it's on an upper control arm and you have a cam bolt that spins, or a lower one, just like in this case right here, water will get in. These are not sealed up. There's always going to be an opening, whether it's through the bolt, on the side of the bolt, around the washer, through the bushing really, or on the side of it. Water, sand, salt, stuff gets in there and it corrodes it. It causes it to get seized and rusted out. That's when you start fighting it. So how do these bolts actually get stuck? Well, here's the one that goes on this 4Runner so you can better understand before you tackle this job, because understanding how they get stuck can actually make things a lot easier to overcome. So of course you have the bolt. This is just, your typical bolt that clamps things down. There it is. It goes through this sleeve, but the control arm actually is what sits on top of this sleeve. And this bolt, yes, it can get stuck inside the sleeve, but it's a lot less likely to do that. And even if it does, with some rust penetrant and some persuasion, you can get it out. This sleeve though, because it's not sealed up around it, water actually gets in here and seizes it, rusts it really badly to the control arm bushing. So it basically just gets stuck like this. Now this is longer than the bushing. So what happens is, because it goes through the frame, you try to pull on it, well, it's not going anywhere. So you can't remove the control arm and you can't slide it out just as is because it's stuck. So there's a few different ways you can get this sleeve out. The first one, if you think that it's not that bad, you could use a chisel and a hammer, or just an air chisel to get it done a little faster. A lot of rust penetrant, and just hammer it back and forth until, well, it hopefully breaks free and shoots right out the front. Now if that doesn't work, you're going to have to step it up a notch. You could use a reciprocating saw with a metal blade. Just be really careful, because with that long blade over here, you want to cut on the inside of each of these brackets that clamp it down, but you want to make sure you don't damage other things that are very close. So you have this boot here, and of course the frame itself. You don't want to accidentally cut into the frame. If you don't have access to it, or if it's not an option for you, there is one last thing you could do, but I recommend staying away from it, and that is to torch it out with an oxygen acetylene torch. But be very careful, because you can melt through everything almost instantly with that. So I don't really recommend that option. And sure, it can't be stuck if it's liquid, but you don't want to melt your frame. As a bonus, these control arms have bushings that are original. They're old, dry rotted and cracked, as you can see here, and they are definitely in need of replacement. So because we're installing control arm assemblies, we get nice fresh bushings on both sides. And there's really one more thing left to do here, and that is to replace them. So let's get to work. Using rust penetrant on these bolts should make your job a whole lot easier. So you can much better understand what it looks like when it goes through the control arm. Well, here we have our new bolt with the new control arm. I'm going to take it apart as if this was already mounted. Imagine that the control arm is already mounted in the vehicle. This right here would be the frame that goes over the bushing. So you want to put this sleeve in first, and this is what I was mentioning that gets seized right in there. And this is supposed to spin and pivot like that. Of course, on the other side we have this washer with the other cam, and the bolt goes through it and clamps it all down. And then the reason that you need it to spin is, as long as the frame is stationary, this is what it would do as the alignment is being changed. The control arm will pivot forward and backward, and that's why it's crucial for it to be able to move right here. But once again, that's where it gets stuck. And as you can see, this is longer than the bushing, so it goes right between the two pieces of frame, which is why even though you get the bolt out, you still can't pull the control arm out. So cutting it, you would cut right here with the reciprocating saw and right here. And once you have it sliced, the two ends come off, and you can take this out with what's left of the sleeve right out of the frame. I'm going to use some grease and apply it to the areas where those cam bolts ride. This is going to do a few things. First of all, prevent corrosion. And second of all, it's going to help out the alignment professional because this is going to allow the cam bolts to spin a lot easier. So when you get the alignment done, well, guess what? It's going to take less time. Everything's back together, so don't forget a test drive and, of course, an alignment.